I'll go first to Supervisor Gaspar.
Thank you. First, Dr. Wooten, can you clarify a point for me on the CDC recommendations on the PowerPoint here? It says the CDC recommends that people should not use e-cigarette or vaping products. You added into your words today after vaping products that contain THC. Is it vaping products that contain THC or vaping products?
Vaping products that contain THC.
Okay, thank you. Okay, here we go. I've been a youth advocate my entire life. I will share with you that I've never smoked, I've never vaped, and I'm not bought off by big tobacco. In fact, you won't find them anywhere on any contribution report of mine. As a coach in the classroom and as a mother of 3 kids, I've always made young people a priority. They're a priority of mine every day. Throughout my elected career, I've been a strong proponent of prevention strategies to keep drugs out of the hands of our youth and vulnerable populations. I'm pleased to see our prevention partners in this room today because they are doing incredible work in all of our communities, and it's been a daily pleasure to partner with you. Prevention programs remain woefully underfunded. I say this all the time, and honestly, I'm in a very difficult place with this item before us today. While I support strong regulation and education to curb youth smoking and vaping, this item misses the mark in favor of political grandstanding. I'm just going to say it how it is. My colleagues perhaps already said it best when they said, "I think this will protect us." Will it? At the same time, I wholeheartedly agree with the speaker today that said the government has failed to protect our kids. The government has failed to protect our kids for decades, and here we are. The real question before us is, how do we fix it? How do we right the course? We must separate fact from fiction to understand any crisis. It's important. Far too often, government attempts to solve a crisis with well-intended knee-jerk policies that end in absolute failure. The most egregious example I'll point out to you today, the war on poverty. 55 years ago, legislation introduced to end poverty in the United States. 55 years later, $22 trillion later, we haven't even moved the needle. Failed strategy. Strategies matter. And make no mistake, feel-good policy will not protect our kids, my kids. I have teenagers. My Uber Eats account will tell you that. It knows all too well. These kids do everything on their phones. They sometimes call me grandma mom because even though I'm a younger mom, they think I'm completely out of touch with what is going on. And if they really want to mess with me, they change a setting on my phone. This is what they do. Well, I'm sure there are still kids out there who go to a corner store that does not have a thorough ID check. Most kids go on their phones. How do I know this? Ask them. Sit down, have a conversation. I did just that. And if my kids weren't at school, I would have plunked them in my chair today, and they could have run you through all of it. Not because they vape, not because they use drugs, but they know exactly how the kids at school are getting these products, and we need to learn from them. We need to listen to them. We don't get to decide as grandma mom how things are done, how things are purchased, and very easily, my son, who's never done any of this stuff in his life, sat me down and showed me his phone. Where did he go? He went to Snapchat. No, it's not just for taking those kitten pictures and cute things. He went to Instagram, and he showed me right in front of my own eyes the things that pop up there, the sales that are happening there. And then, like one of the speakers suggested today, he showed me the endless supply of websites that are out there, and all you need to do is click that you are not a minor, and you move on, and you have access to the world. You know what's changed around here? Technology has changed. I do not believe it's an increase in the sales through storefronts that's changed. Technology has changed everything, and boy, we are behind. We are really behind, and it's frightening. I want to read something to you that should scare you. This is really enlightening. Blatant article online. The title of this, "A College Dealer Explains Why Snapchat is So Great for Selling Weed." Here we go. It's an interview. So what drugs do you sell? Oh, mostly marijuana, all different types. Aside from just the bud, I sell wax, cartridges, edibles. Sometimes I'll pick up psychedelics like LSD or mushrooms, but that's just for fun. There's not as much money to be made there in the long run. Well, how long have you been dealing drugs and how did you get started? I occasionally dealt in high school, but nothing serious. It really started 2 years ago when I was a sophomore in college. I was tired of spending all my money on pot, so I did the math and decided to take the risk and just start selling it. You advertise on Snapchat. How has that platform changed your business? For frequent customers, I send them a Snapchat of what's new in stock. I give them first choice on what they want. Snapchat makes it way easier for me to show people exactly what I've got. If I have different strains of bud, I can immediately send a picture or video on Snapchat of exactly what I have. Well, where do you sell from? I live really close to the university, which makes it a quick walk for most of my customers. I chose to live off campus because living on campus was not an option if I wanted to sell. I looked around and I found an apartment complex where the management appeared to be the least involved, so selling wouldn't be a problem for me. I usually have my customers come straight to my apartment because I know and trust most of the people I sell to. I think it's stupid to meet in random public places and perform some sketchy drug deal. I'd rather have people come inside and chat for a minute while I hook them up. How do you balance selling with studying and going to classes? It's a tough balance, but school comes first. I started selling just to smoke for free, and now it's become more than that. I do a lot of my schoolwork at home, so I'm readily available for customers if they need it. And lastly, do any of your customers smoke worrying amounts? And if so, do you try to help them, or is it just good for business? I serve some real stoners who I think are in college for the sole purpose of being able to buy pot products from me. I try to help those people out by giving them big discounts and deals that I wouldn't give other customers. I don't sell drugs that are addictive, like Xanax, Percocet, cocaine, and that type of, insert bad language, because I think that ruins lives. There's not too much that can go wrong with smoking a ton of weed. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what's destroying our young people. Snapchat, the internet, Instagram, it's a common thread in a lot of areas. Snapchat users, not storefront owners, are marketing to our kids. Talk to them. They'll tell you how it's working. Selling products to these kids is illegal and it's wrong. But while the target of this item is clearly the kids, the actual target today is the law-abiding adults. Thomas Jefferson once said, "The natural progress of things is for liberty to yield and government to gain ground." Unfortunately, those words resonate today as strongly as ever. Legislators in Washington and Sacramento want to control every aspect of our lives, and now it's happening at the local level. And yes, I do take offense when you don't let me be a parent anymore and have these conversations with my kids. Many people using these vaping devices spoke to us today. They've used it to stop smoking traditional cigarettes, and adults should be able to do that. The latest concern is the rise in the THC cartridges, the same one you can buy from this Snapchat dealer right next to your school, and the marijuana use among youth. This trend is alarming. It should be. But we have zero evidence here today to suggest that this is happening at retailers in the unincorporated area or the incorporated cities throughout San Diego. And in fact, I asked for that information. I asked for the violations. I asked for the number of times that these storefront owners have been cited for selling to minors. And guess what? I have nothing in front of me. But yet, you're passing legislation today that goes after those storefront owners, telling them that they're bad actors, and you have zero in the way of evidence, and that is wrong. A problem exists. A problem exists with social media and the black market. We need to do something about it because that is what is at a crisis level. We do know that products containing THC are often obtained off of the streets from friends or local Snapchat or illicit dealers. This is what's happening, and they're linked to these cases that we're seeing and play a major role in this national outbreak. I strongly support cracking down on these illicit dealers, and we should work with and empower our local law enforcement to actively target them. I strongly support a long overdue targeted vaping public health campaign with our children especially. Get ahead of things, we're getting way behind. I also support the recommendations of outdoor dining. I support increasing fines for selling products to minors. We can and should send a clear message that locally we do not support these illegal products being sold to minors, period. I also support what's needed the most, an absolute crackdown on social media sites selling these products. This cannot happen to our kids. But there's no reason why we should be punishing the law-abiding retailers and adult users, several of whom you heard from today. Smoking is bad for you. No one is contesting that. It's likely that vaping is too. But the answer is not found in grandstanding, developing reactive policies, or micromanaging the lives of adults. It's government's job to educate the public and enforce the policies that exist. Let's do that. The government has failed to protect our kids. I want to change that. I'm in pursuit of a fix. I'm in pursuit of a solution, not a failed, feel-good policy that will end in absolute failure. I'm hopeful that my colleagues will join me. Thank you.